Welcome to After Hours. I'm Vaughn. Every night at 8, we go deeper, and tonight, we go 40 meters underground. This is it. 15 episodes. 7 countries, 4 continents, 41,000 kilometers of running, hiding, planning, and surviving. And tonight, Amara Okafor walks into the building she's been circling for 3 days, descends to a vault she's been chasing for 5 weeks, and does something that cannot be undone. I told you this story was building toward a moment. Well, the moment is here, and I promise you, it doesn't go the way anyone planned. If you're new, go back to episode 1, The Frequency. This is the penultimate episode. Tomorrow is the finale. Everything connects. Every detail from 15 episodes lands tonight. Subscribe. Hit that bell. Tell someone. Because after tonight, nothing in this story stays buried. This is The Signal. Episode 15. The Vault. Previously on The Signal. Amara Okafor and David Osei arrived in Singapore under false identities. Lim Mei Ling and Jeffrey Hartley. 2 strangers in the most surveilled city on Earth, sharing an apartment in Geylang, preparing to break into the most secure corporate fortress in Southeast Asia. For 3 days they watched Meridian Tower. 68 floors. Biometric access at every elevator bank. Armed private security on every restricted level. Chen Wei's personal army answering to no government, operating under Singapore's corporate sovereignty laws. They found the vulnerability. A co-working space on the 14th floor, open to the public. Shared stairwell access that connects to the restricted floors above. 28 floors of fire stairs between the co-working space and Chen Wei's private office on the 42nd floor. Inside that office, a wall safe. Inside that safe, the physical security token. The 3rd key. 3 keys to the vault. The palm scan captured from Petrov in Istanbul. The 48-character bypass code that Osei memorized 11 years ago and Amara trained to enter in 6.8 seconds. And the security token on the 42nd floor, 12 seconds. All 3 authentication factors must be presented within 12 seconds at the vault terminal. 1 second too slow, and the system locks. Permanently. The vault seals. The archive becomes unreachable. Cross is in Singapore. Barred from the building by Chen Wei, who threatened to activate his dead man switch if Cross interfered. But Cross doesn't need to be inside the building. He needs to be outside it, waiting, watching, ready to move the moment Amara surfaces with the data. And the vote. Institution or network. You voted. You argued. You made your case. And tonight, the result arrives. Wednesday, 6:14 a.m. Singapore time. The apartment on Lorong 18 smelled like instant coffee and nervous sweat. Amara stood at the window, watching the street below wake up. Hawkers' stalls opening their shutters. Motorbikes threading between delivery trucks. The ordinary machinery of a city that had no idea what was about to happen inside one of its tallest buildings. She'd slept 2 hours, maybe less. The 48 characters ran through her mind on a loop, the way a song gets stuck in your head, except this song had to be perfect. Every letter, every number, every symbol, in sequence. In 6.8 seconds, she flexed her fingers. The paper keyboard Yuki had printed was worn soft from 3 days of practice. 800 repetitions. Osei had timed everyone. Her best time was 6.3 seconds. Her worst was 7.1. Anything over 6.8 left less than 5 seconds for the palm scan and token insertion. And the system gave them 12.
Run it again.
You've run it 400 times since midnight.
Then 401 should be easy.
Osei sat at the small kitchen table. He looked older in the Singapore humidity. The careful posture from the Sonnenberg clinic had softened into something heavier. He was a man returning to the building he helped design, the vault he helped build, the system he helped create. 11 years ago, he walked out of Meridian Tower, believing he would never come back. Today, he was going back. Not as an engineer, as a thief.
Listen to me. When we reach -4, the corridor temperature drops. The vault level is climate controlled separately. 18 degrees Celsius. Your fingers will be cold. That changes your speed.
I've been practicing with ice on my hands.
You've been practicing with ice from a Singapore refrigerator. The vault uses industrial cooling. It's different. Drier. Your fingertips will feel like they belong to someone else.
Then I'll type like someone else. Someone faster.
At 6:45, Yuki's voice came through the encrypted channel. Tokyo. 7:45 a.m. her time. She'd been awake for 23 hours.
Morning briefing. Guard rotation alpha shift starts at 7. Building opens to tenants at 7:30. The co-working space on 14 accepts walk-ins from 8 a.m. I've confirmed your booking under Lim Mei Ling. Desk 7, window side. You have a legitimate reservation for a full day.
Security at the lobby.
2 guards at the main entrance. 1 at the service entrance on Chen Wei. Bag X-ray and metal detector at the main lobby. The co-working space has its own elevator bank. Floors 1 through 15. No biometric scan required for those floors. Your laptop, your phone, your bag will go through the X-ray. Nothing in your bag will flag.
The stairwell.
Fire stairwell C, northwest corner of the building. Doors on the co-working floor between the bathrooms and the emergency exit. It's supposed to be alarmed, but I ran a diagnostic 2 days ago through the building management system. The alarm on floors 14 through 20 has been offline since a firmware update last March. Nobody fixed it. Nobody noticed.
Nobody noticed. The most dangerous sentence in the history of security. Every fortress that has ever fallen fell because somebody didn't notice something.
Osei enters separately. Building opens at 7:30. He enters as Jeffrey Hartley through the main lobby at 8:15. Takes the general elevator to the 7th floor. Law firm. He has a fictitious appointment with a junior associate who doesn't know it's fictitious. He sits in the waiting area for 20 minutes, excuses himself to find the bathroom, and enters stairwell C from the 7th floor.
The law firm, Tan, Go and Associates. I remember when they moved in. 2014. They took the entire 7th floor.
You climb 35 floors, 14 minutes at a moderate pace. You reach the 42nd floor at approximately 8:50. Amara, you leave the co-working space at 8:40. Different stairwell entrance, same destination. You both arrive at 42 within 5 minutes of each other.
And Chen?
Chen Wei's schedule is precise. He arrives at 9:30 every morning. Town car from his residence in Sentosa Cove. 37-minute drive. He goes straight to 42. His assistant meets him at the private elevator. Every morning for the last 6 years. He will not be on the floor when you arrive.
The safe.
Wall safe. Northwest corner office. Behind a painting. Digital combination. Osei, you said you know the override?
I installed the safe. Chen didn't change the hardware. He changes the combination monthly, but the engineering override I built into the system is hardwired. He doesn't know it exists. Nobody does.
Nobody does. There it is again, the invisible crack in the fortress. Put there 11 years ago by the man sitting in a Geylang apartment, drinking instant coffee, about to use his own ghost to unlock the building he haunts.
Once you have the token, you take the service elevator from 42 to -3, maintenance level. From -3, there's a 200-meter corridor that leads to the restricted section. 1 checkpoint. Medico lock. Osei knows the PIN configuration. Beyond that door, another 100 meters to the vault terminal on -4.
1 checkpoint. You said 3 before.
2 of the 3 checkpoints are manned during business hours only. Wednesday morning, the manned checkpoints activate at 9 a.m. You hit the corridor before 9. Only the Medeco lock is 24/7, and Osei built that lock.
I specified the lock. There's a difference.
Can you open it?
I can open it.
12 minutes. That's how long the download takes once the vault terminal is authenticated. 12 minutes to copy the master archive. Every operation Nexus has ever run. Every name. Every financial transfer. Every decision about who lives, who is relocated, and who disappears. 10 years of shadow governance compressed into a file transfer that takes 12 minutes on a military-grade encrypted line, 12 seconds to authenticate, 12 minutes to download, and an entire building waking up around them while they do it. 8:02 a.m., Meridian Tower, main lobby. Lim Mei Ling walked through the revolving door with the unhurried confidence of someone who had been here 100 times. Black blazer, white blouse, hair pinned back. Laptop bag over her left shoulder. She smiled at the guard like a woman who smiles at guards because she doesn't notice them. The way power works. The way belonging works in a building full of people who belong. The X-ray belt swallowed her bag. Laptop, phone, charger cable, notebook, a pen. The micro SD card from Istanbul was taped to the inside of the notebook's spine, between the cardboard and the leather cover. It was invisible to X-ray. They tested that in Geylang with Yuki's portable scanner. The guard barely looked at her. She took the co-working elevator to 14. The doors opened onto white walls, glass partitions, the smell of fresh coffee and productivity. WeSpace, Meridian Tower's answer to the freelance economy. 240 hot desks for startups and solo operators who wanted a prestigious address without the lease. Desk 7, Windows side. She opened her laptop. She connected to the Wi-Fi. She looked like every other consultant in the room, and she waited. 8:15. Jeffrey Hartley entered through the main lobby. He walked slower than Amara. He was supposed to. An elderly academic visiting a law firm. Nobody rushes to see a lawyer. The guard looked at his bag. Laptop. Reading glasses. A folder of printed documents. Academic papers on network architecture. Real papers. Published papers. Papers that David Osei wrote under his real name 12 years ago, reprinted under Jeffrey Hartley's name by Yuki's forgery pipeline. 7th floor. Tan, Go, and Associates. The reception area was dark wood and brass fixtures. Old Singapore money pretending to be modern Singapore money.
I have a 9 o'clock with Mr. Raymond Go. Jeffrey Hartley.
There was no 9 o'clock with Mr. Raymond Go, but Raymond Go was in court until 11, and his assistant wouldn't know the difference between a real appointment and a confident old man with a British accent who says the right name.
I'll wait. No rush at all. Could I use the facilities while I wait?
The bathroom was at the end of the corridor. Past the bathroom. The fire exit. Past the fire exit. Stairwell C. David Osei opened the door, stepped through, and began climbing. 35 floors. 700 steps. 14 minutes at the pace Amara had prescribed. Not too fast. Not too slow. The pace of a man who is not running from anything. The pace of a man who is walking deliberately toward the only thing that can undo the last 11 years of his life. At the same time, on the 14th floor, Amara closed her laptop. She stood. She walked past the coffee station, past the phone booths, past the bathrooms. Stairwell C. She opened the door and started climbing. 28 floors. 560 steps. She took them 2 at a time. Her heart rate was 142. She'd measured it during practice runs on the apartment stairs. 142 was acceptable. 160 was where her fingers started to lose precision. She stayed at 142. 8:49 a.m., the 42nd floor. Amara reached the stairwell door and pressed her ear against it. Nothing. No footsteps. No voices. Chen's floor didn't wake up until Chen arrived, and Chen didn't arrive until 9:30. The executive floor was empty. It was designed to be empty without him. A throne room waiting for its king. She opened the door 1 inch. Corridor. Marble floors. Track lighting. The smell of expensive nothing. The smell of buildings that are cleaned by people you never see. She stepped through. Osei was already there. He stood at the end of the corridor, breathing hard, his hand against the wall. 35 floors at 67 years old. He looked at Amara and nodded once.
The office.
This way.
Chen Wei's office was the northwest corner of the 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over Marina Bay Sands on one side and the Strait of Singapore on the other. A desk that cost more than most apartments. A chair that had been custom-made in Milan. And on the far wall, between two windows, a painting. Abstract. Red and gold. The kind of art that rich people buy not because they like it, but because other rich people will know how much it cost. Osei walked to the painting. He lifted it off the wall with both hands, the careful movement of a man who knows exactly how heavy it is because he chose the wall it hangs on. Behind it, a metal panel, a digital keypad, a wall safe made by Kaba, Swiss manufacturer, model ST 452, the same model Osei had specified in 2013.
The combination changes monthly. He uses a rotating cipher tied to the date, but the engineering override bypasses the cipher entirely. I wrote it into the firmware when I commissioned the safe. 4 digits. Static. Never changes because he doesn't know it's there.
How long?
8 seconds.
He entered 4 digits. The keypad beeped once. A green light. The safe door opened with a sound like a whisper, like the building itself was exhaling a secret it had been holding for 11 years. Inside the safe, documents, cash, 2 passports, a USB drive, and in the back, in a custom foam insert, a brushed metal cylinder the size of a thick pen. The security token. The third key. Osei picked it up. He held it in both hands. His eyes closed. Just for a moment. Just long enough for Amara to understand that this small metal object represented 11 years of captivity, 6 years of hiding, and the precise moment when the man who built the cage decided to open it.
I never thought I would hold this again.
You're holding it. Now let's move.
Amara closed the safe. Osei replaced the painting. They left Chen Wei's office exactly as they found it. No trace. No sign. A ghost opening a ghost's safe, taking a ghost's key, and disappearing back into the walls. 8:53 a.m. 7 minutes until the manned checkpoints on the underground levels activated. 7 minutes to get from the 42nd floor to -3. The service elevator was at the end of the executive corridor. Card access. Yuki had cloned a maintenance keycard 3 days ago, using credentials she'd pulled from the building management system.
Yuki, we have the token. We're at the service elevator. How's the floor?
42 is clear. Chen's car just left Sentosa Cove. 37 minutes. You have time. Take the service elevator to B3. When the doors open, go left, 200 meters. You'll see the restricted section door. Osei, you're up.
Amara swiped the clone card. The elevator doors opened. She pressed B3, the button for a floor that doesn't appear on the public directory. A floor that, according to Meridian Tower's official plans filed with the Urban Redevelopment Authority, doesn't exist. The elevator dropped. 45 floors in 31 seconds. Amara felt her stomach rise. Osei gripped the handrail. The numbers on the display counted down past the lobby, past the parking levels, past B1 and B2, and stopped at B3. The doors opened, and the temperature dropped. -3, 18 degrees Celsius. Osei was right. The cold was different down here. Not the cold of a refrigerator, the cold of a server room. The cold of a space that was built for machines, not people. Dry. Still, the air tasted like recycled nothing. The corridor stretched left. Concrete walls. LED strip lighting. No windows. Because there are no windows 40 meters underground. The hum of industrial air handlers. The distant pulse of the building's power grid. A heartbeat made of electricity. They walked 200 meters. the longest 200 meters of Amara's life. Each step echoing in a corridor that had been designed to carry echoes, because in a space like this, the building is its own surveillance. If you can hear footsteps, you know someone is coming.
It's quiet.
It should be. This level is automated. Environmental controls, power distribution, network infrastructure. The only human traffic is maintenance. Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And today is Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday.
At the end of the 200 meters, a door. Steel, reinforced. A Medeco high-security deadbolt. And next to the door, a keypad. No card reader. No biometric scanner. Just a keypad. 7 digits. Osei stepped forward. He looked at the keypad the way a locksmith looks at a lock he sold to someone who didn't know its secrets. He entered 7 digits without hesitation. The deadbolt clicked. The door opened.
I specified 7148362. It was my daughter's birthday. July 14th, 1983. The year my wife was born. 62 was our house number in Accra. Nobody at Nexus knew those numbers meant anything. They thought it was random.
They thought wrong.
Beyond the door, another 100 meters of corridor. Narrower. Colder. 17 degrees now. The lighting changed from white LED to blue. Emergency specification. The kind of light you see in submarines and bunkers. The kind of light that tells you this space was built to survive whatever happens to the world above it. And at the end of that corridor, a room. Not large. 20 meters by 20 meters. No desk. No chair. Just a terminal, a screen, a keyboard, a palm scanner mounted on a steel pedestal. And next to the scanner, a token slot. A rectangular opening the exact width and depth of the brushed metal cylinder in Osei's hand. The vault terminal. Amara stopped walking. She stood in the doorway and looked at the terminal, the way you look at something you've been imagining for 5 weeks and 38 days. The way you look at the end of a road when you've been walking it so long, you forgot what standing still feels like. This was it, the master archive. Every file Nexus had ever created, every operation, every name, every financial transfer, every decision about who lives, who is relocated, who is erased, 10 years of shadow governance, buried 40 meters underground in a building named after a line of longitude. The Meridian, the line that divides east from west, the line that decides where the day begins. And in 12 seconds, if everything went perfectly, Amara would begin a different kind of day, one that Nexus never planned for.
How do we do this?
Palm scan first. The micro SD from Petrov. Place it on the scanner surface. The system reads the biometric data directly from the card. You have 4 seconds before it times out and requests the second factor.
Second factor. The bypass code.
48 characters. The keyboard will appear on the terminal screen. You type it. You cannot backspace. You cannot pause. The system measures your input cadence. If you stop for more than 0.8 seconds between keystrokes, it interprets the pause as a failed attempt. 1 failed attempt. 1.
And the third?
The token. The slot is to the right of the scanner. Insert it within the 12-second window. If all 3 factors authenticate within the window, the terminal unlocks. If any factor fails, the system locks permanently, and the vault seals.
No second chances.
I designed it that way. I designed it so that no one would ever break in. I designed it perfectly.
And now you're breaking in.
And now I'm watching someone else break in. Which is worse?
8:58 a.m. Amara flexed her fingers. The cold was already in her hands. Osei was right about that too. The industrial climate control pulled the warmth from her fingertips like the building was feeding on her heat. She blew on her hands. She pressed them against her stomach to warm them. She stretched each finger individually, the way a pianist does before a recital. 401 rehearsals on a paper keyboard in a Geylang apartment. And now the real keyboard, the real 12 seconds, the real everything. She pulled the micro SD card from her notebook spine. She held the security token in her right hand. She looked at Osei.
Start the timer when I place the card.
I'll count.
Osei.
Yes?
If it doesn't work, we walk. We walk out the way we came in. We don't run. We don't panic. We walk.
And if it does work?
Then we walk faster.
8:59 a.m. The vault terminal. Amara placed the micro SD card on the palm scanner. The scanner hummed. A blue light swept across the card surface, reading Petrov's biometric data. Palm geometry. Vein patterns. The unique architecture of a dead man's hand, captured in a hospital room in Istanbul 4 weeks ago, now speaking to a machine 40 meters under Singapore. The screen flashed green. Factor 1 authenticated. A keyboard appeared on the terminal screen. 48 empty fields. A cursor blinking in the first field. The clock started.
1.
Amara's fingers hit the keyboard. Not the screen. The physical keyboard below the terminal. The characters flew. Letters, numbers, symbols. A sequence that meant nothing to anyone, except the machine receiving it and the man who wrote it. 48 characters. The bypass code that replaced Eleanor Vance's retinal scan, written by David Osei in 2013, memorized by Amara Okafor in a train from Milan to Dubai, practiced 800 times on a paper keyboard in a safe house that smelled like instant coffee.
4.
20 characters in. Her fingers were cold. Osei was right. The keys felt different at 17 degrees, plastic under frozen fingertips, like typing through gloves you can't see. But her muscle memory was deeper than temperature. 400 repetitions had carved the sequence into her tendons, her joints, the microscopic pathways between brain and hand that don't require thought. She wasn't thinking. She was playing the instrument she'd become.
7.
35 characters. 13 to go. Her right ring finger caught a key edge. A fraction of a hesitation. Not a mistake. Not a wrong character. Just a friction of millimeters, where cold skin met cold plastic and held for an instant too long. 0.3 seconds. The system tolerance was 0.8. Shoes inside the window. Barely.
9.
44 characters. 4 to go. 3, 2, 1. The last character entered at 6.7 seconds, 1/10 of a second faster than her best practice time. The screen flashed. Factor 2 authenticated.
10.
Amara grabbed the security token from the terminal surface where she'd placed it. Her right hand found the slot, the rectangular opening to the right of the scanner. She inserted the cylinder. It slid in with a mechanical click that echoed in the vault room, like the sound of a lock turning in a door that had been sealed for a decade.
11.
The screen went dark. 1 second of nothing. 1 second of absolute silence in a room 40 meters underground where two people who had traveled across the world to reach this moment stood in blue light and held their breath. The screen lit up. White, then green, then text. Factor 3 authenticated. All factors verified. Vault access granted.
11.4 seconds.
0.6 seconds to spare. Out of 12, the width of a breath. The space between success and permanent failure, measured in fractions of seconds that felt like fractions of years. The terminal screen changed. A file directory appeared. Folders, thousands of them, organized by year, by operation, by region, by target. The master archive of the Nexus Consortium, every secret, every crime, every invisible hand that had ever reached into someone's life and rearranged it without permission. Amara pulled a drive from her blazer pocket. Military grade, 2 terabytes. Encrypted. She plugged it into the terminal's USB port.
Yuki. We're in. Starting the download.
Copy. 12 minutes. I've got eyes on the building. Chen Wei's car is on the East Coast Parkway, 24 minutes out. You have time.
12 minutes. Amara watched the progress bar move. 2%, 5%, 8%. The files scrolled across the screen as they copied. Names she recognized from her research. Names she didn't. Operations in countries she'd never been to. Financial transfers to accounts in jurisdictions that don't answer questions. Medical records. Surveillance logs. Kill orders.
Osei, come look at this.
He walked to the terminal. He looked at the screen. And for the first time since Amara had met him in the Sonnenberg clinic, David Osei cried. Not loudly, not dramatically, just tears, rolling down the face of a 67-year-old man who was looking at the machine he built, and the secrets it had been keeping, and the lives those secrets had destroyed.
I built this. Every folder. Every classification system. Every encryption layer. I built the architecture that stored these people's fates. I made it efficient. I made it searchable. I made it so that destroying a life was as easy as opening a file.
And now you're opening every file. All of them. At once.
Is that enough to undo what I did?
No. It's a start.
31%. The download continued. The archive of everything pouring into a drive the size of a deck of cards. Every name finding its way from the darkness into Amara's hands. And then Yuki's voice came through the channel, and her voice had changed. The quick, efficient cadence was gone. What replaced it was something Amara had never heard from Yuki Tanaka. Fear.
Amara, we have a problem.
What kind of problem?
Cross. He's not outside the building anymore. He's in the lobby. He came through the service entrance on Chen Wei 4 minutes ago. Building security didn't stop him. He showed credentials. Not his. Meridian Tower security credentials. A badge that belongs to someone on Chen's team.
That's impossible. Chen barred him.
Chen barred him publicly. Someone on Chen's team let him in privately. I'm watching the feed. He's in the service elevator. He pressed B3.
There it is. The thing that wasn't supposed to happen. The variable that Amara couldn't plan for because nobody plans for betrayal from inside the betrayal. Someone on Chen Wei's team had turned. Someone inside the fortress had opened a door, and Simon Cross was walking through it.
How long until he reaches -3?
The service elevator is the same one you took. 45 floors, 31 seconds. He'll be at B3 in less than a minute. Amara, you need to move.
The download is at 43%.
Then you have 5.5 minutes of download left. Cross will reach the restricted corridor in 2.
Can you lock the elevator?
I can slow it. The building management system allows me to put it in maintenance mode. That forces it to stop at every floor on the way down. That gives you maybe 3 extra minutes.
Do it.
Amara's fingers flew across her phone. Her mind was doing the math that fear makes automatic. 43% at 5 minutes remaining. Cross 3 minutes away if Yuki slowed the elevator. The Medeco lock on the restricted section door was already open. They'd left it open. Why wouldn't they? Nobody was supposed to be coming.
Osei, can we close the restricted section door from inside?
It's a deadbolt. Manual. You close it from either side.
Go. Close it. Lock it. Use a different combination. Anything.
The keypad doesn't allow combination changes from the inside. It's the same 7 digits.
Then he'll know the combination.
If whoever gave him the security badge also gave him the Medeco code, yes, he'll know it.
51%. The progress bar crawled. Amara watched it the way you watch a rescue boat approaching while the water rises. Too slow. Everything too slow.
Elevator is in maintenance mode. He stopped at B1. I can see him on camera. He's pressing buttons. He's angry. He knows something is wrong. He's going to take the stairs from B1 to B3. That's 2 flights. Maybe 90 seconds.
Lock the stairwell doors.
I can't. The stairwell locks are hardwired for fire safety. They don't connect to the BMS Singapore building code. I can't override them remotely.
58%. 4 minutes remaining on the download. Cross was 90 seconds from -3. 90 seconds from the corridor. 3 minutes from the vault if the Medeco lock held him up. 3 minutes if he didn't already have the code.
Osei, go to the door. When he tries the code, I need you to physically hold the door.
I'm 67 years old. Simon Cross is a former military intelligence officer.
Then hold it for 1 minute. That's all I need.
You need 4 minutes.
I need 1 minute of you holding that door, and 3 minutes of luck.
Osei walked back down the corridor, 100 meters from the vault to the restricted section door. He walked the way he did everything now, deliberately, as though each step was a sentence in a confession he'd been writing for 11 years. 64%. Amara watched the progress bar. She watched the files scrolling past. Operations she would never have time to read. Names she would never have time to remember. The archive was massive. 10 years of institutional evil, measured in terabytes. From the corridor she heard it, a sound she would remember for the rest of her life. The Medico keypad. Beep, beep. Beep, 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 beep. 7 digits, entered correctly. He had the code. Cross had the code. The deadbolt clicked. The door opened 3 inches, and then it stopped, because David Osei had pressed his entire body against it from the inside. 67 years old. Fragile. A man who had spent 6 years in a hospital bed and 11 years running from the things he built. Holding a steel door shut against a man half his age with twice his strength. The door pushed. Osei pushed back. His shoes slid on the concrete floor. The cold air rushing through the 3-inch gap carried a voice.
Osei, I know it's you. I know she's in there. Open the door and I'll give you something you want. A way out. Both of you. I'm not here for you. I'm here for the archive.
You're here for the same thing everyone is here for. Control. The archive isn't control, it's proof. And proof isn't meant to be controlled.
Philosophical. Open the door, David.
71%. The door pushed harder. Osei's feet slid another inch. He reached for the wall, bracing himself, his prosthetic free body working with everything it had against the physics of a stronger man pushing from the other side. 78%.
I have authorization from people who matter more than your journalist. People who can make this go away. The archive can be managed, controlled, released strategically, in a way that protects everyone, including the people on those lists.
Managed. The word you people always use, managed. Like the truth is a portfolio, like justice is an asset class.
84%. The door opened another inch. 6 inches now. Osei was losing. His shoes had no grip. The concrete was polished. The physics were against him. The clock was against him. Everything was against him, except the fact that he was the man who built this place, and he was not going to let it swallow one more person.
Amara, how much longer?
91%. Hold it. Hold the door.
Cross hit the door with his shoulder. The gap widened to 8 inches. Osei stumbled. He caught himself on the wall. He threw himself back at the door. His weight was nothing against Cross's momentum, but his position was everything. The corridor was narrow. The door swung inward. Cross couldn't get leverage from outside without getting his body through the gap, and Osei was filling the gap with everything he had. 94%.
Last chance, David. When I come through this door, the offer expires.
Then I suppose you'll have to come through.
97%. Cross hit the door again. Osei's feet slid. The door opened 12 inches. Cross's arm came through the gap. Then his shoulder. 99%.
Done.
Amara ripped the drive from the terminal. The screen went dark. She shoved the drive into her blazer's inside pocket and ran. 100 meters of corridor. Her footsteps echoing off concrete walls. Blue light strobing past. At the door, Cross had pushed through. His upper body was inside the corridor. Osei had been pushed back. His hands against Cross's chest. Still fighting, still resisting. A 67-year-old engineer holding the line against a career intelligence operative through sheer refusal to give up.
Osei, move.
Osei dived sideways. The door swung open. Cross stumbled through, off balance from the sudden release of resistance, and Amara was already past him. She grabbed Osei's arm. They ran. Down the corridor toward the service elevator. Cross recovered in 2 seconds. He turned. He ran after them, but Amara had a 30-meter head start. And she was faster. She was always faster. 5 weeks of running across 7 countries had made her faster than anything Cross could match in a concrete corridor, 40 meters underground. The service elevator. The doors were open. Yuki had released it from maintenance mode 30 seconds ago, holding it at B3 for exactly this moment.
In! Now!
They fell into the elevator. Amara hit the button for the loading dock. Ground level. The doors began to close. Cross was 20 meters away. Running, his footsteps hammering the corridor. The doors closed with 8 meters to spare. The elevator rose. Let me stop here, because this is the moment. This is where your voice enters the story. Amara has the archive. 2 terabytes of everything Nexus has ever done. Every operation. Every name. Every crime committed in the name of management, control, and invisible power. It's on a drive in her pocket. And in approximately 11 minutes, she will be standing outside Meridian Tower with a choice to make. You voted. In the comments. For 3 episodes, you've been arguing, debating, making your case. Institution or network? Give the archive to Interpol and trust the legal process. Or release everything to the world and trust the people. I read every vote, every argument, every late-night comment that started with, okay, but hear me out. And here's what you decided. Suzanne, you've been voting network since episode 12. 3 comments, 3 episodes. Every single one of them saying the same thing with different words. You said, and I'm paraphrasing, the public needs to see this. All of it. Because the system has had decades to fix itself, and it didn't. You said, a dead man switch and 12,000 people. You said Amara shouldn't trust anybody with this except everybody. And Eric, you started on the other side. You voted institution. You said Interpol. You said play the chess game. And then something changed. Episode 14, you came back and said I'm changing my choice, gathering up all the information and release. You switched from institution to network. You both landed in the same place. And you weren't alone. The votes came in. The comments came in. The arguments came in. And the result was clear. Network. Unanimously. Every voice in this community that weighed in said the same thing. Release it all. Trust the people. Light the match and let the world see what burns. So that's what Amara does. But not the way you think. Because Amara is a journalist. And a journalist doesn't just dump data. A journalist tells the story. The service elevator opened at the loading dock. Ground level. A concrete bay where delivery trucks unloaded supplies for the building's restaurants and retail tenants. It smelled like diesel and cardboard. After the sterile cold of -4, it smelled like the world. 9:14 a.m. Chen Wei was 16 minutes from the building. Cross was somewhere between -3 in the lobby, trying to find another route up. And Amara Okafor was walking out of Meridian Tower's loading dock with 2 terabytes of stolen intelligence in her jacket pocket. A white van was waiting on Chen Wei. No markings. No plates visible from the dock entrance. The driver was a woman Amara had never met. Yuki's contact. Part of the extraction chain. The woman didn't speak. She didn't need to. Amara and Osei got in. The van moved.
You're clear. Cross is in the lobby, he's making calls. He can't follow you without a vehicle. And the nearest Nexus asset in Singapore is 40 minutes away, I've confirmed. You have a window.
How long?
2 hours. Maybe less. Once Chen Wei realizes the vault was accessed, he'll lock down every exit point in the country. Ports, airport, causeway to Malaysia.
Then we don't use any of those.
The boat is at Marina South. 42-foot charter. Indonesian registration. Captain's been paid, he takes you to Batam. 40 minutes across the strait. From Batam, you fly to Jakarta on Indonesian domestic. Different jurisdiction. Different surveillance network. Chen's reach stops at the Singapore border.
The van drove south through the financial district, past the towers, past the money, past the invisible architecture of power that hums beneath the surface of every global city. Amara held the drive in her hand inside her pocket. She could feel the weight of it. Not the physical weight. The weight of names. The weight of truth. The weight of a decade of damage that was about to meet daylight.
Yuki, I need you to set something up before we reach the boat.
What do you need?
The distributed servers. Tokyo, Reykjavik, Sao Paulo, Switzerland. Are they still active?
Active and clean. Nobody's touched them since we set them up.
I need a fifth node. A public one. An open server with no access restrictions. Anyone in the world can download from it. And I need all 5 nodes mirrored.
You want to release the full archive publicly?
I want to release the full archive publicly. Simultaneously. Across 5 servers on 4 continents. With a front end that lets any journalist, any lawyer, any citizen in any country search by name, operation, or date.
That's not a data dump. That's a database.
That's a newspaper. The biggest newspaper in the world. 1 edition. Every story. Published everywhere at once.
Yuki was quiet for 4 seconds. 4 seconds is a long time for Yuki Tanaka. When she spoke again, her voice had the particular quality of a person who has just been asked to do something impossible and has already started figuring out how to do it.
I need the drive. I need 6 hours. And I need you to get to Batam alive.
You'll have the drive in 40 minutes. The upload happens from the boat. Satellite connection. I don't want this data on land any longer than it has to be.
The van turned onto Marina Boulevard. The water came into view. Singapore's harbor. Container ships anchored in the strait, the skyline reflected in black water. The same skyline that had looked beautiful 2 nights ago from the apartment window. Now it looked like what it was. A facade. A glittering surface over a foundation of secrets. And then Amara's phone rang. Not the encrypted channel. Her real phone. The phone that only 3 people in the world had the number for. She looked at the screen. Unknown number. Singapore country code. She answered.
Miss Okafor. Or should I say, Miss Lim. I know who you are. I know what you took. And I want you to know that you have not won anything.
Mr. Chen, you're earlier than expected.
My driver called me. Security called me. I know about the vault. I know about the download. And I know about Simon Cross in my building, which means I know that someone on my team betrayed me, all of which is secondary to the question I'm about to ask you.
Ask.
What are you going to do with it?
The van was 2 minutes from the marina. Osei sat beside Amara, listening. His hands were steady. For the first time since she'd met him, his hands were steady.
Everything. All of it. To everyone.
You understand what that means. For the people on those lists, for the operations that are still active, for the assets who are still in the field. You release that archive, and people die. Not metaphorically. Literally. People who are working undercover in hostile environments. People whose covers depend on those files staying sealed.
Then they should have thought about that before they built a system that depends on secrecy to function. The problem isn't the release. The problem is that the secrets exist at all.
That's a journalist's answer. It's not a human answer.
It's both.
I have a dead man's switch, Miss Okafor. If anything happens to me or my building, the full Nexus records released to Singapore and American authorities automatically. I built it as insurance. You've made it irrelevant. If you release the archive publicly, my switch means nothing. My protection means nothing. You've taken away the only leverage that was keeping me alive.
Then come with us.
Silence on the line. The silence of a man recalculating everything. Chen Wei, the last surviving member of the Nexus Consortium's technical council. The man who kept the archive. The man who kept Osei alive. The man whose dead man's switch was the only reason he was still breathing. And Amara had just offered him the one thing nobody in his world had ever offered. A way out that didn't require leverage.
I can't leave Singapore. They'll find me anywhere.
They'll find you anyway. The archive names everyone. Including you. Including your role. The difference is whether the world hears your story from you or from a file.
What story?
The story of the man who kept the evidence. Who preserved it. Who didn't destroy the archive when he had every reason to. That story matters. But only if you tell it.
The line went quiet. Then Chen Wei said something that Amara didn't expect. something that nobody expected.
Pier 7, Marina South. I'll be there in 12 minutes.
The van pulled into the marina parking area. Amara and Osei got out. The boat was there, 42 feet, white hull, Indonesian flag. A captain who smoked cigarettes and didn't ask questions. They boarded. The engine was running. The strait was calm. 40 minutes to Batam. 40 minutes to a different country. 40 minutes to the beginning of the end. Amara sat on the deck with her laptop. She connected the drive. She opened the encrypted channel to Yuki. And she began the upload. The archive, flowing through a satellite link from a boat in the Strait of Singapore to 5 servers on 4 continents, to a world that didn't know yet what was coming. 12 minutes later, a black town car pulled up to Pier 7. Chen Wei got out. He carried nothing. No bag, no phone, nothing from his old life. He walked down the pier with the deliberate steps of a man who has decided to leave everything he's built. Not because he was forced to, because for the first time in a decade, someone asked him to. He stepped onto the boat. He looked at Osei. Osei looked at him. 2 men who had built the same system. One had hidden from it. The other had hidden behind it. And now they were on the same boat, heading in the same direction, leaving behind the same tower and the same buried truth.
David.
Chen.
I kept your token in my safe for 11 years. I told myself it was insurance. But I think it was guilt. I think I was holding it because I didn't know how to let it go.
None of us did.
The boat pulled away from the pier. Singapore skyline receded. The towers getting smaller. The lights getting dimmer. The Meridian Tower, 68 stories of glass and steel, shrinking against the horizon until it was just another line in a city full of lines. And 40 meters beneath it, the vault terminal sat in blue light. Empty. Drained. Its secrets traveling through the sky at the speed of light, toward 5 servers, toward every screen in the world, toward a truth that could not be buried again. The archive went live at 11:47 a.m. Singapore time, 6:47 a.m. in Reykjavik, 3:47 a.m. in Sao Paulo, 4:47 a.m. in New York. Yuki built the interface in 4 hours. A searchable database. Clean. Simple. Type a name. Type an operation. Type a country. Type a date. The truth comes back. No paywall. No registration. No restrictions. Available to every journalist, every lawyer, every citizen, every victim, every family that has spent years wondering why someone they loved simply vanished. By noon Singapore time, the first news organizations had found it. By 1 p.m., it was on every major wire service. By 2 p.m., the servers were handling 400,000 simultaneous connections. By 3 p.m., governments were issuing statements. By 4 p.m., governments were denying the statements they'd issued at 3. By sunset in Singapore, 4 arrest warrants had been issued. By midnight, that number was 17. By the time Amara's boat docked in Batam, Indonesia, the world looked different than it had 12 hours earlier. Not better. Not yet. But different. Lighter, as if someone had opened a window in a room that had been sealed for a decade, and the air was finally moving. Inspector Hassan, watching from Lyon, initiated emergency provisions under Article 5 of the Interpol Constitution. Cross-border collaboration. Expedited warrants. The legal machinery that had needed months now had justification for hours. Because the evidence wasn't hidden anymore. It was on every screen. The legal process didn't need to find the truth. The truth had found everyone. Simon Cross disappeared from Singapore within 3 hours of the archive release. His current location is unknown. Nexus assets began scrubbing their digital footprints. Accounts were closed. Properties were transferred. People who had been invisible for years suddenly became very visible in their attempts to become invisible again. The paradox of exposure. The harder you try to hide after the light comes on, the more obvious you become. Frost. Still a ghost. Still playing both sides. Or all sides. Or no side but his own. The archive mentions him 7 times under 3 different names. None of them real. He's the only Nexus figure who built his cover so deep that even the Master Archive can't fully identify him. And Amara, standing on a dock in Batam as the sun set over the strait, her phone buzzing with messages. News organizations, lawyers, government agencies. 3 people she'd never heard of claiming to be her lawyer. 2 people she had heard of asking if she was safe. And 1 message from Inspector Hassan that said simply, "Well done. Come to Lyon when you're ready. We have work to do." She didn't reply. Not yet. She stood on the dock and watched the water. And she thought about Daniel, her brother, number 47 on a list of names. The journalist who lost his words. The reason she started running 5 weeks ago. The reason she never stopped. Tomorrow night, the finale. Episode 16. The consequences. The reckoning. The faces behind the names. And the question that the archive can't answer. What happens after the truth comes out? Because the truth is only the beginning. What you do with it, that's the story. 1 episode left. Tomorrow night. The season finale. Episode 16. And I need you there. Because this story started with a frequency, and it ends with something louder. Suzanne, Eric, I need to say something to both of you directly. You shaped this. Not metaphorically. Literally. Your votes determined the path Amara took tonight. The network. The public release. That was your call. And it changed everything. Suzanne, you've been here since the beginning. Commenting, analyzing, voting with conviction. Eric, you had the courage to change your mind. To listen to the arguments and say, I was wrong, this is the right path. That takes more than an opinion. That takes integrity. This community decided that truth belongs to everyone, not to an institution, not to a government, not to a system that has had decades to act and hasn't. To everyone. That's not a vote. That's a philosophy. And it's the philosophy that drives this show. Tomorrow night, we see what happens when the world opens a file it can't close. We see who runs.